What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Tapping with Tristan. I'm excited about having this lovely guest. Before we really get into it, I just want to make sure that you guys make sure that y'all subscribe, hit that bell so y'all can get the notification when we get new content up. Man, share this. This is a lovely platform that we're trying to build with a lot of beautiful people with very unique stories. So we're just trying to give this free game of help. So we go way back. This one we go back to our college days. So I'm excited about this professional. She's an athlete. I'm not even gonna steal her shine. We got Jackie Ahlers, excuse me, Jackie Ahlers. Let's go ahead and say how you doing. Talk to us.
Hello, how are you? Tristan, of course, good to see you. Like you said, yes, we do go back to the SJU days, so it's
Yeah.
nice, to definitely be able to talk to you, especially on this platform. I think this is great. This is something that we probably look for when we were back at SJU, so it's great for us to be able to do this as well.
Yeah, well, first of all, I appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule. You know, you're on the East Coast. There's a lot going on, weather, you got all different types of things. We're in the midst of a lot going on. So thank you so much for that.
My pleasure.
So we're just going to kind of go back and start from the very beginning. We just wanted to, we're fascinated to know a little bit about you. So what does it look like for young Jackie? What we
So,
going to
young Jackie,
about that?
yeah, young Jackie, young Jackie started volleyball today's world late. I started in eighth grade. And my son always makes me sure I put this point out there. It's because I tried out for the basketball team in seventh grade and I got cut. So eighth grade came around and volleyball was, the next biggest thing. Tall, I've always been tall my whole life. Tried out for it, did track as well, but volleyball stole my heart kind of early. I had a little bit more of a natural talent. I was able to jump. I've always had hops, luckily for myself, but um, I kind of just fell in love. I had really good teammates. A lot of my friends were on the team at that time, and that kind of, helped me to love the sport as well. I think having good teammates definitely helps you to love it a little bit quicker too. And then it went from just playing in middle school to that was all year round. From eighth grade, it was all year round. AAU came around. That's what life became after that, and I didn't know anything different, And then I had a great career in high school. I did really well. Was probably definitely one of the top players in the East Coast at that time. And the East Coast is normally behind. I know you're in Texas, so even us, we knew, you put respect for those other parts of the country, especially in our sport. We knew Texas was ahead of us. We were in New York. We're usually, especially the East Coast, we're considered probably about a year or two behind most other places. So to be able to be recognized, on those levels in high school was good for me. It was able to give me the platform to be able to be recruited, being an East Coast player. Um, and then, obviously history brought me to St. John's. I was always a city girl at heart. I was born in Queens, but then raised up in Rockland County. I'm in Westchester right now, which is only about 45 minutes to an hour outside of the city.
Right.
But always a city girl at heart. So when I did have a lot of offers as a senior, a lot of top schools around the country, but the city, I went on my St. John's recruiting trip and I just fell in love. Like it was just the best of both worlds. I was far enough away from home, close enough if I needed to get back.
Right.
And the city just feels like a different world when you don't
Right.
grow up there. New York City, it's just to be able to know that I could live there on my own technically was just everything. So St. John's was definitely just it was it for me. That
That was
recruiting
it for
trip
you.
was it. Yeah.
So let's talk about when you were young. Did you come from like a family that was kind of involved with sports, or this was kind of brand new? Was their parents,
No.
siblings? What's going on with you growing up, early ages?
So early, even growing up, no, actually, I was not. My family was not big on athletics. I grew up not knowing my biological father. I did have a stepfather growing up. And my mother, she was a runner.
Okay,
That was kind of just what she loved to do, but neither one of them did anything competitively in high school.
got you.
So I was pretty much, the first one out of that. Um, I did, fortunately, unfortunately, I didn't have the support that most kids had at home. Most of
Okay,
my games, I would look to for my friends' parents to come that I was close with, or just have certain friends come and everything like that.
got you.
So it was and being good kind of helped a little bit. It helped
Right.
to kind of, you know, also fill that void because I still grew my volleyball family and my volleyball support, you know, kind of just like the beginning days of like being weary about the tryouts. I kind of just latched onto my friends who in turn kind of became my family. So no, it was foreign. I didn't know what AAU was and doing all that. And you know, I'm the kid like, hey, can I carpool with you so I can get to practice? Like my mom and dad don't know what practice is and that time and that scheduling and stuff. But they were like, as long as you can get yourself there, you can go. So that's what I did. I made sure I talked to my friends and I was like, hey, I can be at your, like, can you give me a ride? I can be at your house whenever. So it was something I actively had to work early at doing if I wanted to keep doing it, you know, and it was something that fortunately I had friends whose parents didn't mind giving me that ride and I made sure that I fit it into my schedule. So yeah, I kind of just made sure I did everything I could early on to, even though it was foreign, I just loved it and it gave me like that family and that support. So I just made sure that I kept just pushing and making it get done every single time. So I had to get myself to AAU. My high school team was our AAU team at the time. That's kind of how we did it. We like played with my coach. We had a really good solid team and he was like, I'm going to put together a club team. Like there's no need for you to go play with other people and come back to us and figure it all out again. Yeah, let's just make our high school team, we just get better for 4 years. Each year we're just gradually getting better and better. And you know, he was older at the time and he told us that he would retire after we graduated, but when I was a freshman, he was already like early 80s. Like he was older. So he made it to our junior year. We won states in 2000. Like he was there for all of that. We had a crazy story with winning states, but it was a great experience.
We're gonna definitely touch upon that. So how did that make you feel? You know what I mean? Like you actually kind of found something. What gravitated you first of all towards, you know, because you said you tried out for the basketball team. Your family is not really a sports family.
Yeah.
What even gravitated you towards that type of situation to sports, which ended up leading you to volleyball? And then I have another question.
So definitely right off the bat, one of my closest friends at the time we rode the same bus together. She lived in like the sister development of my development where I lived. She was like, she always just talked about it. She was like, Jackie, you would love volleyball. Like it's so much fun. Like me and Taylor and everybody else plays, like just try it. So it really just started off that. I got comfortable with the people who I was playing with and then the love of the sport and obviously being slightly like talented and athletic obviously came with that, but it was the support, it was the friendship, it was what I didn't have at home, I was able to get there and we had the same common, you know, love for something and that was it.
That drew you to it. That drew you to it.
That was it.
That's beautiful. And I think that's something that people that are not involved with sports, they don't really realize that dynamic of that unity. You know what I mean? Especially if you're not getting it from home. But even if you are, this a certain bond that you get with your teammates and even coaching staff and everything like. So that's beautiful to see. What did it feel like for you as a young athlete, and even moving forward, we'll touch upon your later years, but just not having that support because you have people that have different stories. This is yours. How did it feel, and how did you like kind of just navigate that? Was it like, talk to us about that part?
I mean, definitely difficult when you're in it. You know, younger, like as present self when I was then, you just want, especially being good. That was definitely hard. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of like, pay attention to me and then like, oh, and I'm good. You know what I mean? And it's like to not get that, it definitely, I think it made me humble myself early on, which I think was good for myself as well. But I always got that from my friends. So like, even though I wasn't getting the big hole filled, I was getting so much support, you know, like they would be like, oh, are you good? You know, like later on in years, I'd be like, yeah, I was okay. And then, you know, you got my friends in the back are like, no, listen, she was this. So always. So it was, I think it was, that's why, like, it just drove me from that beginning. Like, I always just had that support, something that I was uneasy about. I had 5 friends always behind me, like, you know, you got it. Like, if not, I'm here with you. Like, it's cool. So, you know, you always want that from your parents. But at the same token, it was definitely probably there was moments where it didn't make me feel good, but it also drove me. It drove me very hard to keep, yes, you want the validation for them to see, but then at the same token, it's like, you know what, I'm going to also see how far I can go, because, you know,
Absolutely.
you can't, maybe you don't want, not necessarily don't want me to go far, but that's what I'm feeling. But that's also going to push me to drive the opposite way as well. You know, it was just wanting to, you know, just either get that scholarship and that validation, that next step. And then
Yeah.
after getting this, that, you know, getting in the doors, like, am I going to be a contributing freshman? And then taking that, once I become that, then going on to the next one, and just, you know,
Yeah.
that continual validation. But what I made sure was I got it from genuine people. Like, my
Yeah.
high school coach was a genuine, he, in your mid 80s, the last thing you want to do is coach. He added an AAU schedule on top of it, because he really did care about us outside of just being athletes. I got the same thing from my coach at St. John's. She cares about us more than just athletes. So I really did make my volleyball family my family. Like, what I didn't get from home, from those key, you know, figures as far as parents, I made my coaches my figures. And I've had great relationships with my coaches, and why it drove me to want to kind of become a coach, you know,
That's beautiful.
because,
That's
yeah,
beautiful.
because you
Because
don't
of
know, just don't know.
your
Yeah,
experience, and how it shaped your life personally.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it's like, I would like to pay that forward. That's beautiful. So let's talk a little bit more about balancing. We're going to talk about kind of when you got into it, you know, like the latter middle school years into, you know, the early high school years. How are we balancing home life, students? You know, it's a student athlete still. You know what I mean? Was you a
Yeah.
really good student? Was it something that you was because everybody has their story, and then this volleyball thing,
So,
it's just
yeah.
new to you. How was you balancing all of this?
Ugh, I mean, definitely not one of those, I don't have to study and I'm getting A's on tests. Absolutely not. I wish, but definitely not. You know, I was probably about definitely a B student, you know, and back then it was, you know, you obviously had to get NCAA cleared and all that. So you still had to make sure academics wise. And, you know, back then it was harder. You kind of had to scratch a couple of schools off your list if academically you weren't doing well. You know what I mean? And obviously, you know, certain different variables can help you get things, but I was a B student. You know, I hate test taking. I'm not I hate tests. I'm more of a visual, like, you asked me to explain, I got it. But testing, it was difficult, but it was all about discipline. You know, you have to, if you want something, and time management is a huge thing for me, you know, kind of really just having to put a list together and knowing, like, listen, you can either get all this done and kind of complain through it, or when you don't get it done, you have to deal with now you being frustrated that you slacked, you know, and kind of just being accountable early on, like just knowing that I had to be accountable. There were certain things I wanted and certain things that I wanted to achieve later on, and I had to put a schedule.
Was your parents involved with the academic part, or you were still doing your thing, kind of like?
No, really more so, you know, my parents worked a lot, and then, you know, I was the oldest of I had 3 younger siblings as well, 2 sisters and a brother. So I was really kind of this ship. Like, I just ran, you know, like, we knew we had to get stuff done, had to get chores done, you know, stuff like that. And kind of just, you knew you couldn't slack off in school. You had to do your best and all that. So we kind of just held ourselves to that, you know, and I kind of had to just really do that early on. And I knew that's what was going to be expected of me in college. Like, they always talk to you in high school, and I really kind of listen to all that. College, it kind of really depends. Like, in high school, there was kids who wanted to listen to all that because they knew college was their next step, and I knew I wanted to play. So you can't just, I wish you could have went to college and only played sports and not done school, but you couldn't do that. So I had to become a student as well. It's student first, then athlete. If I didn't do what I had to do in class, there's no athlete side of it.
Athlete attached to it, so
There isn't.
it's part of the package for sure.
Yeah.
Now, when you play, you know, early on, were you very good? You know what I mean? I'm sure the athleticism was there, you know, because I seen you play. I know. We'll talk about the run that you had in high school and everything. Was it like automatic, or did you have 2 left feet out?
So, like, the fundamental skills I definitely had to learn. Like, I didn't come and I was like automatically like this phenom, but I did have a vertical. That's what I did have.
And that's really hard to teach. That's really hard to teach. Like, they see you jumping out the pen, they said, we can work with her.
Yeah. So early in the sport, with having the vertical, and obviously the trust in the coaches that I had at that time, because that's key. Because when you're first learning, like, if you don't have one, either coach that one that knows what they're doing, or 2 that you have that trust with, you kind of are embedded and you start off with bad habits, and any sort of habit is hard to break. So, I did have good coaching in the beginning that set up a really good basis for me, and having being able to have the vertical, I was able to excel pretty quick. So the first year, being able to play middle school and then going into being, going into AAU right that same summer. And back then, I don't know if you remember, like Empire State Games was a thing
I
too.
do remember Empire State.
Yeah.
Who'd you play with at Empire?
So when I was younger, I played for Hudson Valley, but then when I got to St. John's, I played for City.
I played for Long Island, and then I played for the City too. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Empire was a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, huge deal.
Was a big deal. They don't really do that in a whole lot of other states.
No, they did it. I loved it. Oh my goodness. I was so upset when it got taken away. So upset. But I just put in a really long year. Like that first year I went in, and it was beneficial for me. Like being naturally a little bit more athletic, it helped me, because freshman year I was on varsity, like it just went quick. Like I was getting recruited by the end of my freshman year, sophomore year. Like it went very quick.
Let's talk a little bit about this, because we're going back some time, you know what I mean? Like we know about the state of the volleyball game today. It's beautiful. They even got some professional leagues starting up. And like you said, Texas, coming from New York to Texas, it was wild. I grew up in New York, and volleyball was not a major thing. And I'm like, when I came here, I'm looking back like, why wasn't it? Like,
I know. Yeah.
why wasn't it? So from your experience, what do you think? What do you think was going on to where it was kind of not? Because you're a fantastic athlete, so I'm sure that we can find a few others that are like this, but it wasn't highly visible.
That too, I think it was also maybe talent too at the time. There wasn't as many, you kind of knew where the clusters of studs were back then. There were certain programs or certain areas that had good coaching staff and was able to keep the same, like getting athletes pumped in and out, you know what I mean? And were able to produce. And that's kind of, the Northeast was more, you had a couple of studs as opposed to like a core group that was like going to give you
that were good AAU wise. Can you remember any?
So
just in case.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, so when we played, it was when we played, it was also so different. Like right now. So when we played, I mean, I don't know for basketball, but when we played, if you didn't make AAU team that summer, you were sitting for a year until high school stopped. Like there was no going to another one like there is today. If you didn't make AAU, hopefully you're finding some camps to go to that summer, so you're not touching a ball for a whole summer, or at least off season, you know what I mean? But now it's a little bit different, right? There's tons of AAU teams now, so it's like I don't want to say it was more elite back then, but it technically kind of was labeled that. Like if you didn't make,
there was less teams, so
less options. You really had to be elite back then. Like you had to make the teams. You couldn't just go somewhere else. And again, you knew how big that was, because now from December to August, unless you go to camp, you're not doing anything with a team. You got to go pay somewhere to hopefully get some competition, and that's a huge off season for volleyball. So that's why you look to play travel and then look to go to camps or do empires or something like that. So now it's great that they have those options, but back then we didn't really get that. So I was fortunate enough, to be able to compete and make, obviously the first couple years, the 3 years, till my junior year, I had luckily my high school team. Luckily we were able to do that and be competitive. But then my senior year, I did have to go to a club, which I still currently work at now, as you know, as an AAU coach, but I had to be the newbie and kind of do the same thing, go through a tryout. I was like, what's a tryout? I haven't done a tryout in years. Yeah, so I had to do the same thing, but you have to make sacrifices early. And back then, I think the sacrifices were a little bit bigger. Like you knew it was, you're either December to May, I'll see you guys later. Like, don't count on me don't send me the first text, like send me the last one, or I'm free, let's hang out. Like it was, you kind of had to make that choice. And back then the training up until that, like training really hard and taking high school seriously to get you ready for your AAU tryout. That was that back then, you know what I mean? And now you can easily play for a full year round. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So you see it, and I think that's fascinating, because now you have to be top of the top just to get on a team. Is less teams. Where now there's so many teams and they just level them off. You know, you have your open
Yes.
divisions, you got the nationals and American. You have all of these
And
different levels. So
yeah.
regardless of your level, you can pretty much play all year round.
Yes, and that's the thing. That's also where I see sometimes the struggle in athletics because you can kind of, I hate to say, but pay to play.
Yeah.
Um, you see some kids that because you can play, which back when we played, it had to be earned a little bit more. When you do get to a college setting or a certain program where that might not be the mindset or the culture of that team, now it becomes a struggle mentally for a kid who hasn't been used to that. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm just really big on the mental, because even before mental health became a thing, that's how I honestly chose St. John's as well. Like, I'm going to be very realistic. I tell all my kids, my AAU club, all of them, I would want to be realistic. I did not know how to sit the bench. I had realistically wanted to go to a school where I knew I could probably have a good chance of playing, because mentally, I don't know if after being a dominant player for 4 years, could I mentally handle maybe not seeing the court for a year? Like, it sounds crazy to some
It's
people,
not
but
crazy.
I knew
That's being
I
honest.
had to be,
That's
I'm realistic.
I,
Yeah, I'm a very realistic person. And I was like,
if
I
I
remember
go,
I
if
tweaked,
I go there, I may or may not, because they already got some big time players and they're already established in there. But this is
yeah.
something that I see in the landscape right now, across sports, is some of the parents as well as some
Mhm.
of the kids not being very, very honest with themselves.
Yeah.
And because you have certain situations to where they get a little bit of film, they might not be playing top competition. They hit a few
Mhm.
shots, they post it, and everybody's giving them great feedback that it's going to transfer over to the next level. And then
Yeah.
a lot of times it doesn't. It's just only a
Yeah.
small percentage of people that are going to go to the next level. And inside those next levels, there's levels inside of that. So for you
Yeah.
being able to be transparent with yourself and say, I'm not
Yeah.
going to sit on the bench. I'm going to keep it 1,000. I'd rather play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
And it was, St. John's a great program. You know what I mean? Like, I still had great options. I had to be real, because I mean, even just my coaches, the best advice I got was always, even when I was going through my recruiting process, was if volleyball was taken away, make sure you like the school, because, I have to still be, back then it wasn't easy to transfer. Now it's a little bit easier to transfer. But, if volleyball was taken away, would I still love St. John's? Would I still love the cafeteria? Would I still love my classes, my other, you know what I mean? And that was, I had to be realistic all the way around, because sometimes it's not as perfect as it seems. Like, recruiting is exciting and everything seems perfect. Looking for the perfect vibe, the perfect campus, the perfect team. But I mean, this year shows you more than anything. Sometimes it's not. You're not hanging out with your favorite teammates. You're not going to your favorite spot on campus. So, like, when it's not, do you still love everything about what you're going to eventually get back to, but right now you can't get? Because sometimes it's hard to, like, that could be a game, that could be a match, like, where it's not perfect, not going your way, but do I fight it out and hope that the end result is what I want? Or do I kind of just, I'm like, okay, I'm good. It's, so I had to just be realistic with it.
you're saying right, and I appreciate you being transparent in that. That has to go in the thought process of going to the next level. Is creating that checklist and does this school hit those things? And if you
Mm,
do hit the bench, are you going to be okay with that? Are you going to be okay
yeah.
with trying to earn your spot? And some people are, but some people they're like, no, it's not my
Not, yeah, because some are quick to be like, it's the coach's fault, it's that guy's fault today. And realistically, no, it's just not your time yet. But are you still willing to push through that? You know what I mean? So, and it's like you said, some people are built for it and some are not. And some people are built for that test and some are not. Like, that test could really make or break you as well, too. So if you're just really realistic with yourself, and it's not just about a certain school color, a certain school name, a certain program. It's really like you and what you're trying to do. And if that program really fits who you are all the way around, then you're fine. Then you can't go wrong.
Let's talk about this high school whirlwind. You know what I mean? We both are around the same time frame.
Mhm.
There's a lot goes on. There's a lot that goes on
Yeah.
from an athlete standpoint. You're having success. You know what I'm saying? We got school to balance. We got schools asking us There's
Mhm.
opposite sex we dealing with. Like we got a lot of stuff going on to navigate through.
Yeah.
How did you navigate through this as a high school athlete, as well as the home situation? Talk to us.
I mean, just as best as I could, and just try to really always jump on to genuine people and who I felt my support was, and kind of just honestly rocked with what I rocked with. Like, because, there's certain people that are, that you don't have choices that are put in your life. And then there's those ones that you get to pick, and just same thing with that a lot. I mean, I couldn't be a kid nowadays. I like it's a big difference from when we were younger. A lot more is introduced younger.
Facts.
um, I mean, but I think it helped me to be able to be that athlete, to get like what college, because I mean, then again, college is crazy too. So like, I think having having to make earlier decisions and really make mature decisions, not having the support at home too, I think did prepare me for being kind of a young adult at a Division I college, because you do, even if whether you live on the dorms or on campus, you basically always treat everything like it's your first apartment.
Yep.
So high school, prepared me to kind of those things, like kind of different people I would meet, situations that I would put in, choices I'd have to kind of make. And it's like, okay, you kind of got yourself to the level of now you're still going to have to hold yourself. Like I didn't go in there like a regular college student where all they cared about was my grades and I could do whatever I wanted. I added being under another microscope again. So, I kind of really tried to hold myself to that in high school to an extent. I, of course, was still a kid, learning how to figure it out. But I kind of started holding myself as accountable as I would have to in college, because there was no way I was going to do a 360 in like a summer. Like there was no way I'd be able to just completely be like, okay, I'm never going to do anything, not do. And social media just came out when we got to college, you know what I mean? But it wasn't, you knew what you were signing up for, especially at where the level we put at. We decided to also go D1, you know what I mean? So that as well, I kind of was like, before I thought college was an option, I was still probably more so a teenage kid and tried to make the best choices, knew
When did
whether,
you, well,
go
sorry to
ahead.
cut you off, but when did you feel like, hey, I can actually play at the next level and I would like to play at the next level? When did that
End of freshman year, end of
freshman year?
freshman year.
So early in high school, you was like, I would like to do something with this.
Because I was getting offers and it was real. And I
Cool.
was still,
Talk
yeah.
to us about the recruitment process. Who was hitting you up and who was
So I was still running track at that time. I ran track 8th grade and 9th grade. And 9th grade was the year that I started getting offers. And I realized that I had to pick and choose which one it was going to be and really like focus on it. And volleyball was obviously, I was good at track, but volleyball, I was getting the offers and I was like, okay, this is it. Like I cut off track and I was just like, I'm going to do it all year round, and really just kept to that and just only focused on that. Goodness, I mean, early on, I had a lot, back then, I would say back then and always still, Penn State's a great, program. I had interest in them early on. To have interest as a freshman, sophomore from them, early on from the Northeast, like a girl from New York, doesn't really happen that much. So, to have those offers early was good. And, I'm glad that I had humbled myself from what happened at home to not let it get to my head, because I had, I could have just coasted and I didn't want to do that, because it's crazy to say, and I hope coaches get mad at me, but my dream school back in the day was UNC, because baby blue was my favorite color. It sounds stupid, but that's real. And fortunately they offered me late. I had already fell in love with St. John's, but I was getting a lot of buzz from top 25 schools. And, I took them gratefully, humbly, kept working, it was able, when you get that buzz, especially in New York, it was also nice, because I am a team player, to bring that buzz and that light kind of to some of my other teammates. You
They
know what I
do.
mean? Like,
So they coming to see everybody there too. So maybe one of the coaches takes a look at some of my friends.
absolutely. We don't get that buzz in New York. So it was nice to help just me, New York, my area, like come look at what could come out of this. You know what I mean? So it was nice to get that. It's flattering to get that. And, it can be overwhelming. The recruiting process is very overwhelming. It's
Who
like
helped
going
you?
on an, Say that again?
Who helped you with the process, if anybody?
So it was my funny thing is my coach that I played for that last year at the club that I still currently work for, we got super close. And I would say around my junior to senior year is when my mother and my stepfather actually started to go through a divorce.
Okay.
And that home life even became, I felt like, even more difficult to find support there. So I latched on to my coach and haven't let go. He literally like lives down the street from me.
Wow.
But he was like, I almost, and you could ask him, I almost quit. I almost literally quit playing probably my summer of junior year. I was just like,
Wow.
this isn't for me anymore. All I am is Jackie Ahlers, the volleyball player. Like, I'm never just going to be Jackie Ahlers. And that was a direct reflect and deflect of not being who I wanted my parents to see who I was. And I remember I had a breakdown with him on the phone conversation, and he just reminded me who I was, and that Jackie Ahlers was who I built, and that even though I didn't get what I wanted, I gained a whole family. I gained the respect and the support and the love that, yes, I didn't get in the form that I wanted, but in the form that I deserved. And he was like, I'm not letting you quit. Like, you're too good.
Don't quit.
Yeah, he's just like,
it's gonna open up so many doors for you. Don't quit.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so he was my support, and he was the one that told me that was like, if volleyball was taken away from you, because he knew how important it was for me to be Jackie Ahlers, a volleyball player, and also still respected as Jackie Ahlers. And that's why he told me, if volleyball was taken away from you, would you still love everything about that school?
That's beautiful, because I think that we all wrestle with that, especially as a really, really good player, regardless of the sport, is that starts to take on who our identity is.
Absolutely.
If you, like you said, if you don't have a real good support system, especially at an early age, you're trying to figure a lot of stuff out. Then you assume that identity, but outside of that, there's the emptiness. You know what I mean? There's a void that's there. So let's say you don't play well, and you know, I had that happen even at SJU. It's like, what am I?
Yeah. Oh, everything. You like question your whole career, your whole everything. Yeah.
You do, man, and it puts you in some type of state of depression. It changes things, and
absolutely.
This is where they start having outlets, and sometimes the outlets turn into vices. Yes. Because we're still human beings, and we're on this stage with the sport, but people don't know the backstory. Like,
everybody's fuel and reason for their why is different. Everybody's why is different. Like, and it could be a crazy why. You know what I mean? And you just don't know. You just see the end product, but you just
This is the reason why we're having these conversations. So again, I appreciate it, because a lot of people don't know the backstory. Only a handful of people, if any, know. Yeah. They just see what it is, and they see, oh, you had success or you didn't have success. Good or you trash. But it could be a whole field, a whole different thing that's going on with that person that's having them performing the way that they are. So thank you for that. And God bless that coach that helped you not quit.
Yeah, definitely. a lot of thanks.
Yeah, that's something I'm very grateful for. So navigated through high school, you had a really good career. We're playing Empires. We got AAU popping. You winning state titles. Like, good thing.
So fun. Although, I mean, just Empires, I think I really hope they bring it back, because I really do think it just allowed that competition within the state of New York. It was just like, you just knew you were meeting up with the same people. It was like literally every sport, from basketball to volleyball to archery and walking, like
they had field hockey, and so
everything.
For those who don't know, that's going to be watching from all parts of the country, the Empire State Games is exactly what it sounds like. It's an Olympic style event. It's like a weekend. So you try it out for your region, and then they have the different regions of New York come together at different sites each year. They rotate sites, and we have, the Scholastic, so the high school,
18 and under.
18 and under, and then you have the amateurs, mainly the college age kids that compete with one another. So it's not only competition, but it's also a great network. it's
Absolutely.
a really cool thing to
Yeah.
be part of, because you done seen these people, you heard about them, and you
Hmm.
cross paths with them, and it's a beautiful event.
It
So
really was.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially in high school, you're like, man, I'm a part of this. They give you all
Because
the
then that we went to, it was always hosted at a college. So you're
no,
taking
no,
over
no,
a
no.
college for a weekend. Like we were like, okay,
It was
so we
a
get
college
3 days in the
basketball
dorms.
weekend.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
They give you their
Absolutely.
stuff. They march and parade type thing.
Yep. Everything, just like the Olympics. It was great.
It makes you
Yeah.
feel really good. It makes you feel really special and a part of something. So it's a beautiful thing. I definitely recommend all the states to do it, honestly. But
Yeah. Some version of it for
yeah, some
sure.
version, but who knows right now. So now we're crossing over. What were some of your final schools? And then we understand why you picked St. John's. What were some of the final ones? And then let's talk
I
about
mean, Penn State was, of course, up there. Penn State's Russ Rose. I mean, great program. I mean, it was a great, and again, it was the visit. It was everything. I knew I was there for volleyball. So it was like, what else, like for me, and everybody goes into the recruiting trip and everybody has different needs too. So, my reasoning of why I go and or how I went about my recruiting trips, was a certain way. And then, everybody's reasoning is different.
Mhm.
But definitely, it was still St. John's. There was a couple other biggie schools. Georgetown was in there as well, Penn State. God, this is so long ago, Tristan. I feel like I'm so old now. I don't even remember what my tops were. But again,
Those are a few good ones. Those are
UNC was definitely up there. But again, I got that offer really late.
a
But
little
again,
bit
that
more.
was dream school. But then again, I mean, there was even a part of my career, and obviously we'll get there too, where I had a secondary recruiting option because I had another year of eligibility. So, you know, my mindset changed there as well too. So yeah, so there was, I mean, definitely a lot of, I had all the like the local schools, like the LIU Brooklands, like all of, it was like, do I want to stay home, or do I kind of want to go away? I had the West Coast schools, the USCs, all that as well. And
Across the country. So you had options.
yeah, I did. I had options. I had a lot of options.
So we
I
come
did. I was very blessed.
very blessed, because you only pick one. So I tell everybody,
Yeah, only one.
be respectful to everybody, because you only pick one, and you never know
Yeah,
where you might cross paths again.
exactly. Exactly.
Yes, we had SJU. We had
SJU,
St. John's University,
Johnny.
right?
Yep.
Very prominent school in the Northeast.
Mhm.
What's the vibe? Now you're on. You're a freshman there. You know what I mean? Big time
Yeah.
recruit. Big time recruit.
Time recruit.
There's going to be pressure. Now,
Oh, definitely.
whether you feel it, I mean, you're going to know it's there, but whether you're invited is going to be from person
Mhm.
to person. So there's
Yes,
going to be a certain pressure that comes with you being a big time recruit.
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
How did you handle the volleyball and the college scene?
I mean, the good thing was I got super close. I tried to get as close with the team and the coaching staff before I stepped on the campus. Like when I could talk and they were like, whatever you need, talk to me. Like even if it was something small, I just really tried to get the connections as much as possible, because preseason is, again, probably like what, a 3-week interview, especially if you're a freshman. It's the most nerve-wracking first couple weeks of your career, right? You have 3 days, you're trying to prove yourself to like the seniors, it's just like that same, you're trying to also remind your coach why you signed, but you're nervous because you're a
Yeah,
freshman.
yeah.
So luckily, again, and the coaching staff at St. John's, one, I love that it's still the same because JoJo, started the program. So it was always JoJo, and then our assistant coach is Mario Trevich. Polar opposites. JoJo is probably one of the sweetest women I've ever met in my life, but don't get me wrong, she's competitive. She played at Syracuse herself. She's a setter. She was my setter at Empires for a year. Like she knows the game, but down to earth. At the end of the day, she's down to earth, great woman. And Mario, same thing, sweetheart, but he's from Moscow. He's from Russia. So night and day, like as far as his training and his mentality. So it's like, you come in as a freshman and you're just like, oh my goodness, like what have I got myself into? But I kind of just stuck to why I was there. It was the volleyball. Like, listen, they signed you, they invested in you, you know why you're here. So whether you mess up or not, they're not just going to be like, okay, bye. No, like, thanks for coming. Thanks for trying. It was kind of just that same thing. Like, listen, you are starting from the bottom, but you got here for a reason. And it was this, I latched onto the same thing. The friends, the ones, like once they made it comfortable for me, and once I found like the core group of the team, volleyball was easy. You know what I mean? That was the easy part. It was just feeling comfortable in the uncomfortable. And for me to feel that, it was my teammates. So it was always just having a coach that I knew when she needed to yell at me, there wasn't a screwed face. It was, she's right. It was like, that's what I need to do. So it was finding that going into it. It made it easier because I really did pick a school based off what I know I needed. And as scary as it was, it wasn't that bad. I adjusted very quickly because again, I trusted everyone there. You know what I mean? Like I really did trust them before I came there, that when I knew I was nervous, that I would trust them through that as well too. So
beautiful. Yeah. So the volleyball part, like I'm settling in. I got this part. What about the off the volleyball court? You know what I mean? St. John's is a very unique. It's a very unique campus because it's more of a commuter school. They did build
absolutely,
but it's placed in Queens, New York. So you have all of the boroughs in Long Island coming in.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's party time on the weekend. So you go in wherever you like inside of the city. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
How did you navigate through that? You know, looking back, you was like, man, I did my thing. I was like, dang, I probably was tripping on this end of it. What would you say?
Let me tell you, living in the city, especially when that's your favorite place to be, it is hard. You're faced with everything that you're faced with as a high school kid within parameters, as an adult within parameters, temptations. Like I'm living in the city on my own. They're not going to call my parents if I go to school. They're probably not going to call my coach if I go to school. You know what I mean? Like this isn't how it works now. Like I wake up when I wake up, you know, yes, you have things that you have to meet. But again, it comes with consequences that I choose to take on. You know what I mean? So it's a whole different ballgame. I mean, it was exciting, exhilarating, and like I said, tempting in every aspect of it. But then it's like, it comes down to that same thing. Like everything was right. I got a full scholarship. So if I act up, I'm not going to be there to act up anymore. So it's like, you got to check yourself sometimes.
It's a lot more independence.
Yeah, so much.
Independent. You could be independent in high school, but there's usually still a checks and balance system from a teacher, a principal, or coach with your parent or your guardian.
Yeah.
Now,
it's different.
The time management and everything's on you. So there's all the time to everything. So was you partying? Was you partying too much?
No. So definitely, listen, our tryouts though, and just like I said, that risk, and I think it came with, again, that same thing, bottom line, like the respect. Like I knew I would have to face my coach, and that was more scary than like a party. Like me not going, like my friends being like, oh, you wasn't at that party? Like me facing my coach scared me.
Not trying to deal with that.
Yeah, I was like, no, just send me pictures. It's cool. Like, I'll live through you. And my friends, you know what? Again, I had a supportive friend circle that respected that. You'd have the one or two that would be like, come on, Jackie, really? But then they'd be like, we already know we don't bother Jackie. Like she's in season. We'll talk to her spring season. Yeah, like she's in season. Spring season, it's a little lax. Come talk to her in the spring. But they knew from August to December, I'm going to shut you down. Like, and if you don't respect that, then like, I'm sorry. Like, it's nothing personal. I don't have time now to like make you understand why I have practice at 6 a.m. Like I got practice at 6 a.m. So I can't. So again, like it was really, I made sure I brought people around me who were, because it's hard enough already to say no to a party. That's all you want to do. Like I had a hard week of practice and now you ask me to go out and I got to say no. Like I'm already mad at that. So I definitely don't need the friends who are like showing me everything and pre-gaming in my face and I'm here just like, okay. So it helped. It really did. Like I gotta big up my friends. I can't lie. Like they respected my career just as much as I did. And that like kind of made it a little bit easier. But of course, I missed all that. Like I hated scrolling and seeing it and not being a part of it or just hearing about it. But like you knew.
This is the sacrifice.
It's just
sacrifice of an athlete. And you said you have to navigate all of these things. It's different than just being a student.
Yeah, it is.
Athlete. So there's going to be certain things that you have to pass up in order to have the success on the court or whatever sport that you're playing. So it's not always easy, like you said, because You know what I'm saying? And then one time, if you slip up or you with the wrong
It
people, you in the paper.
just takes one time.
You're in the paper, highlighted, and then not so much.
It
And
doesn't matter what like my like story is. Like I promise it doesn't matter. Like that's it. It's I'm done for. So yeah, you kind of again just come talk to me in the spring or summer. But fall, no. Like
we'll be having success from the freshman year on. We'll be having success.
yeah.
SJU.
Yeah, I mean, right out the bat, I was
You got
lucky.
that
Like
cooking.
I did. She kind of explained to me also early that they were graduating their dominant senior, and that was Olga Radowski at that time. And they wanted me their thoughts were for me to be the next Olga, and to be the next dominant figure there. And they thought that I could handle it, and they gave me the chances in the beginning, a couple games here and there. And I did what they were looking for. And I was able to hold my ground amongst juniors and seniors. And it was respected. It wasn't like, why is she here? It worked. Like they were like, oh, she's here to, yeah, she's here to ball. Okay, cool. Like, let's go. And that was it. Like they wanted a ball. I wanted a ball. We both loved it. I played with Hawaiians, the most competitive probably volleyball players you'll ever find are Hawaiians. So I played with a whole bunch of Hawaiians, a lot of international players. JoJo at St. John's is a lot of internationals for the volleyball program. That just respected the game. Like she picked athletes that respected the game, that we knew no matter how different we are, the main thing was always that ball and the respect for that game, that like it worked. Like a freshman from New York was able to ball with like Russians and Hawaiians, like in a matter of 3 weeks, because we just respected the game. Yeah, so freshman year for sure. We were as a team, we were getting recognized. Individually, I was getting recognized throughout the Big East, and I did well, very, very well right out the gate. I was very blessed.
So now, I mean, we're having success. You know what I mean? I'm sure that helped you with your confidence, but you still have English. How did that tie in? Your mother and your stepfather.
So I mean, it still kind of drove me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I can count on both my hands how many games from when I started in 8th grade to a college player that my parents have attended, and that could be combined. Wow. So I did have my mother come to a couple, at St. John's, probably early on before I had my son, my freshman and my sophomore year. And it was the same thing, I was excited to have her there. It's like Jackie's mom's here, and Jackie was good at that time. So, I was like, this is it. Like, this is it. Like, she's going to see it. Like, look, like we had our tiff. We went our separate ways in high school, here and there, but this is it. She'll see it. Like I'm on a different platform. I'm at D1 and that's kind of where it stopped. Like it was just the game happened. And after that, like, that's just it. She came to the game. You know what I mean? It wasn't like what I would
carryover. You wanted that carryover.
Yeah, it wasn't what I imagined in my head in the big day. Like she'd see all this work and whose daughter gets a Division I scholar, like who, like I didn't even do that. Like, cause my mother hadn't gone to college. She hadn't finished college at that point. So like, I even thought that alone, like not only was I going to school, but now I'm getting a full ride, and it didn't. But again, I had to look at, for me, it was like a numbers game. Like, yes, of course it hurts. Like I'm a mom now myself. I'm a woman, I'm a daughter, what daughter doesn't look for that mother-daughter relationship? Wow. But I had to play the numbers game. I had to look at literally the gym that came every time after a long day of class, or when they could have been in their dorm or in Mongoris or Marillac, that was there like cheering for us or for me or my friends that like worked into their schedule to be able to be there for me. You know what I mean? Or other friends who drove down from Westchester. Or same thing, coaches that like watched on live stream from their house and made sure they made it a point. Like I had to look at the numbers of everyone being like, but you're doing it and like we're here, instead of like the one, even though this big one for me and most days outweighed all those numbers. I kind of still just had to keep pushing forward, because at the end of the day, I was still proud of it. Even though I didn't get it from her, I was like, who does? Like it was like first, like most girls don't come out of North Rockland High School. Nobody even knows what that school is. So, like they don't come out of New York. They don't get that highly recruited, they don't come in as a freshman and get all these Big East honors and national recognition. So it's like, it sucks that she's not seeing it or they're not seeing it, but I'm still really proud of it. Like, I can't lie. So it just pushed me to keep always going because they were genuinely proud of it. So that made me okay, like still pushing through and going for like breaking the next record or something like that at school, and just, just pushing it. Just that was my why. That's my fuel for
That's
it, is to keep going.
this is beautiful because I'm sure there's quite a few people that can relate to this to a certain extent because you have one of the biggest figures. You can't get much bigger than your mom. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? She's going through her stuff, and then she's not really involved as much as you
Mhm.
want to be involved, and you're like, hey, I'm really good. Then you have this
Yeah.
opportunity. It's like that chapter's closed. We can start a new chapter, and then it
Hmm.
doesn't quite hit like that. And you're like,
Absolutely.
kind of the same as the old. That's kind of a knife to the chest, but at the same time, I can let it take me this way or that way because I
Mhm.
have some other people, including myself, that are really proud of what I'm doing. So it started with your mentality, which is not easy.
100%.
Like
No.
you keep rocking.
Yeah.
That's,
Not easy.
that's very strong of you to do that because I've seen it to where that one person can hold a lot of weight and jam another person up, especially a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I did it because I didn't see different than, again, remember I said I was the oldest, so my younger siblings were from my stepfather. So I didn't grow up knowing my biological father. When my mother met him, I was 2. So I
Okay.
knew that wasn't my father, and it kind of just came from having that, like when they got divorced, my siblings went with their father. And I kind of was kind of like put in like the middle when I was at the end of like kind of going into recruiting and leaving anyway. So would it have mattered, and that kind of played a part in everything. Um, but I had to adopt just being able to take care of myself really early on. Like, and it was just, there was definitely times where I chose to let me just sit in it, and that didn't feel good. So I was just like, okay, so let me try the other one. Like, like maybe just let it push me and let me still get everything and not get, yes, what I need, but look at how much more I'm getting though on top of it. Like, is it not, is it that bad? Because yes, there's days where it does feel that bad. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But um, but it's like it really just pushes you, if you really just adapt that mentality. And I think a lot of people are faced with that.
Yep.
There's a lot of generational curses, and you can choose to continue them on, or you can choose to not. And that comes with every choice. Like it could be as small as like, am I choosing butter or cream cheese today? Like everybody has a choice,
This
and
is
that can determine your whole day, right? But with that, I know how it made me feel, and I just didn't like it. Bottom, as simple as that. So like I chose to just go with what made me feel good, and pushing and getting a career and being able to share here and there with some friends, and people be like, wow, like, that little I'm proud of you and you're strong, like helps me to keep pouring up that little hole. Like that was it. Like that's all I needed, was like the little couple here and there. And
it.
that just pushed me. Yeah. And naturally blessed to be naturally talented as well, like helps. So it's like, do I just sit here and sulk, or do I take advantage of that? Because then I'm just going to regret it. I would have been resentful of myself for not taking advantage of it, because it's allowed me to build this, like the stability that I didn't have growing up, or the life that I wasn't shown, but my talent and the family that I grew as an adult and a kid literally got me my life. Like it literally got me my life.
That's
So
amazing.
I cannot be mad at it at all, at all.
I mean, that's amazing, Jackie. And again, thank you for sharing that and being
Of
transparent.
course.
This is super helpful to somebody. I'm blown away. So this is dope. Just hearing the backstory. You mentioned the son, right? Let's talk a little bit about this
So yeah.
and how did this impact everything?
So, I mean, we talked a lot even just about my mother. And the funny thing is, my mom had me when she was 21, and I had my son when I'm 21. And most college kids know 21, you're still in college. So, this career that we talked about, I had a great career, and it's going along. Freshman year, sophomore year is great, and then going into my junior year, I ended up, I found out I was pregnant. And Scared probably is the easiest adjective that you could use.
Amongst a bunch of other things.
A bunch of other stuff. Yeah, obvious disappointment, the plan and the stuff that I was going along, that obviously wasn't supposed to be on that checklist. So, there was a lot. And I first went to disappointment. Like the biggest thing for me, this is who I was. And now the mistake that I made, I'm an overthinker like most people. So the biggest mistake that I could have ever made is now affecting the thing that drives me and that like keeps me going. Like, am I gonna lose? I didn't know what. Like, I'm like, am I gonna lose my scholarship? Are they gonna kick me out? Like, you don't play volleyball pregnant. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Like, I was probably, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, of course, because how my life was set up, more nervous to tell my coaches than I was to tell my parents. I still talk to my parents here or there, but it wasn't, I got the response that I expected from my parents, very detached. And, this is something you're going to have to, make sure you take care of and be responsible with. And, this is, it can't just be, family takes over. This is a choice that you made. And of course, it's 100%. I'm that account. Like, this is my kid. I'm not going to have a kid and it's time for grandma to raise her. That's not how I automatically assumed, especially because, quite frankly, I didn't have that relationship with my parents. So I'm not going to assume that my kid's going to kind of get that as well.
Gotcha.
And that was difficult, because again, it's another life moment where you look for that support. And I kind of didn't feel like I had that, at least at home. So disappointment, but something that I wasn't used to. And I had a meeting with everybody in the athletic department at that point. Kathy Behan, she was still there at that point as well. And my coach, and I said the same thing that I said when I signed my letter. I made this commitment to graduate and to play here. And I understand that this might have changed the timeline, but my commitment is to still get my degree and my commitment is to still play. And I said, obviously, I've done something that normally doesn't happen, and, you guys obviously still have to want me to be a part of the program and all of that as well. And, we had a really great, transparent talk, and they wanted me to finish the job that I had started, and they were fully supportive, 100%. I cannot, St. John's didn't bat an eye to being 100% supportive of me having a child at all, as long as I was committed to do.
That was a breath of fresh air, because it's unknown territory. You're cooking out there, you're playing very well, you're pregnant, million things going on. Like you said, this is my avenue. This is my avenue. But this is also where my support is. This is where my love is. Right? So my network
and all of that, yeah.
How does this change this? So once they was like, nah, we're good. I'm sure that was a lot of pressure off.
Yeah, a lot of pressure, but I still wanted to I still kind of wanted to make sure they saw it though too, and for myself as well, for me to stay in that mindset. So I still trained with them as much as I could.
I'll do everything I can. Don't set me though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as long as I was clear to do it, like if there was a practice, I was in that gym. Like I still dedicated my time to being in there. You know what I mean? Like if they were doing stadium runs, whatever their workout was, I was going to do in stadium. Like I was doing, Tristan, when I said I was doing stadium runs at like 7 months pregnant in Carneseca, I was doing stadium runs 7 months pregnant in Carneseca. Like I just knew that I wanted to come back. I didn't want to take advantage of a second chance that they had already given me any longer than the time off that they didn't plan on giving me, to give me even more. So I was like, I'm going to train.
I'm here, and I'm going to do my part. And I think
exactly. So it was like, if I'm clear to train and be an active pregnant person, I'm going to be as active as I can so that I'm not taking that much longer to get back to where you thought I was and where I should have been a year ago. So I trained as much as I could. That's
fascinating, but that's also what makes you you. That's the separation of certain athletes, or really any industry. So now you have your, you know what I mean? Now here.
Yeah.
Whole different world now.
All different ballgame.
What's going on?
All different.
What's going on?
Again, St. John's.
Are you doing it? What's going on?
So friends, same thing. Friends, coaching, advisors. Honestly, if I'm thankful, like I said, I took the route that I did, because I don't think if I would have picked that school, it's hard enough to just be a 21-year-old pregnant person in general. Like at college, when you don't really feel like you have the support of your family, is even scarier. And then to think that what kind of kept me stable could be taken away at the time that I needed to be the most stable ever in my life was scary as well. But I know that I had showed them enough those 3 years prior that I was about this school and about like what I was there for, that when this true, thing that obviously I didn't plan on, like why I think they knew that I wasn't trying to like put a huge halt on my career. Like, why would I just do that in this way? Like maybe like buckle a knee would have been a little bit easier for a halt, but not this. So I think they really did. They knew me and what I really was about there. And they just really supported me. Like if my friend had to be at practice to help me with my son, like my son was up in Carneseca sitting at the corner, like, cause I had to be at practice. If it was, I remember I had to take summer classes one summer and I didn't have anyone to watch my son that week. And my professor let me bring my son to class, like on St. John's campus. Like they knew who I was and how dedicated I was. Like, and of course I had to prove it and show that it was genuine.
But you had enough track record. We got enough track record that,
Enough.
we'll extend a little bit of extra
Yes.
help. So that's a
Yes.
beautiful feeling. So you, in a sense, really picked the right school, because there's probably some other universities that are like, we're not doing that. We're
No.
not,
And yeah, and that's real life. I remember reading stories. They weren't as common, but I think maybe before I hit college, there was like 1 or 2 stories of a female athlete who had gotten pregnant in college, and experiences for both of them were probably definitely not the same whatsoever. So yeah, I mean, that alone too, absolutely. Like that's not, especially when you're good, like no offense, but if I wasn't, then it probably would have been like, nobody would have even heard about it. But this is something you can't
you're
hide.
easy to replace. You're easy to replace
Yes.
when you're not as good. We all know that. But as a good player, they're like, but also because of your personality, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you bring
Yeah.
a lot of positivity
Yeah.
to it, and you bring transparency. So they were like, we will help.
Yeah, but there was also the other side too. The good side of it is like, what was she thinking? She's in the highest part of her career. What was she thinking? Now there was those that are like, she's never going to be the same again. She's probably not even going to come back. There were those, and that's exactly what I needed to hear. Like, that's what was making me. Oh yeah, that was,
Like that type of energy motivates me, and
yeah.
that helps me. So how do we bounce back? How do we finish off with St. John?
So I ended up getting my undergrad there. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that I finished my eligibility there. But however, JoJo, the coach of St. John's, was best friends with where I finished my career at Stony Brook University. So I got a full ride and I finished out there. We had a great season. We lost in the conference finals. I had known a couple of those girls from actually playing them in Empires and against them in AAU as well. So scary to go somewhere, but again, I chose the same way, because after I had my son, shockingly enough, as many haters as there was, when they saw and heard, because again, I trained, so I had him in October. So that was the finishing end of what the junior year that I would have played.
Yeah.
So I was still able to kind of have a spring season. And once people got wind that I looked exactly how I looked before I had the baby.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
It was recruiting all over again. I got a lot of offers for 1 year to go West Coast. And it was the same thing all over again. But now I have a different entity. Now I have my son. So now it's do I leave and go play my last year of eligibility at USC, Gonzaga, Baylor, top schools, dream schools to finish out of, especially after having a kid. But I have my kid. Now, mind you, yes, of course, we got you, but at the end of the day, like, I don't know you guys. Like, I know what you want and what I can provide, but that's scary. I'm a first-time mom. Like, St. John's was different. Like, I knew my best friend was going to watch him in Carneseca. Like, I know my advisor got him, this was different. And I had that choice again. Do you go with what most people don't even get the offer for and just go for it and be uncomfortable? Or do you still be you, probably try to still dominate, but be comfortable in this new role that you're in now? Like, yes, you're a top recruited athlete, but you're also a 24/7 mom now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
um,
another human being.
yeah, it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was hard, like to come back and to get those big offers after coming back after having a kid was validation enough for me, but also very tempting to want to finish out that way. Like that could have set me up because then again, being an athlete who still knew that I wanted to coach eventually or still I wasn't going to stop after college. Like I was still going to use my platform as an athlete in some sort of sense. So it was like, do I now go put myself in a position where that platform's already there to help just boost me now even more, even with the uncomfortability of being a new mom? But again, it just really came down to my comfortability. This was now my coach's best friend. This was only an hour from where I was. If I really needed my friends, emergency, or the family that I've gathered, they're not that much further. Like, yes, Long Island can definitely feel like it's
Especially
forever
when you
away, especially Stony Brook. We got to get a ferry sometimes, but
you can still get there.
it's not California, or you know what I mean? So yeah, it came down to being realistic again with myself. Like, yes, I work to be able to put myself in a position to get these offers, but I've also realistically put myself in a position to be a single mother right now.
Wow.
So can I still compete at a Division I level, get what I want, be competitive, and again, that's where Stony Brook came in as well. Stony Brook had family housing. It was close. Like I knew, like it was just going on that, like seeing it, I was like, I can do this. Like I can do both. Like they offered me a grad program that was 100% online. So now I can be a mom, a student, and then go to practice.
Wow.
Like it was doable for me.
So
Like it
this
was
is the
like,
one. This is the way. So
and yeah, it came down to sacrifice. I sacrificed what my first and biggest next chapter was by default, is what I chose. So even though I wanted, everything on top of it, it probably would still come, maybe not how I planned it, but by default, my first role was mom. And that's what I needed to feel comfortable in too.
that's beautiful that you actually took a look at that because you have some people that will look out for themselves first. So
Yeah,
this volleyball world has took you on a journey.
journey.
It's a journey.
Yeah,
There's a lot of beauty in this journey too. A very, very unique situation that occurred. You started the game late. You started the game later than most. That
yeah,
was the type of career that you had. You end up going with the school that's a little closer, that's not as prominent for it, and you uplifted them. Yeah, you did.
yeah,
In the middle of it, you had a kid and bounced back
yeah,
from having a kid and still played well. This is
yeah.
this is so so so. What does today look like? What are we doing? What are we doing now? Is
So
games
yeah,
to you? Are you still involved? What are we doing? And then
So
what is
yeah, still involved, still have always done AAU. Since high school, I've only taken a 2-year break from doing AAU. So even though, you know, I've been now, I'm a head coach now at a Division II school over at Pace University here in Westchester and Pleasantville.
okay?
But before that, I was the first assistant at Georgetown, and then I was over at NJIT. So my goal was always to go into, I was at the high school level before that. I was at a private, independent school around here as well. Like I said, I wanted to be in athletics because I'm a genuine person who I know loves athletics, and that's what I was blessed to put in every program that I touched. I was blessed to find someone who knew the game, loved the game, and loved you outside of the game as well. And I knew that no matter what level I was, that was appreciated from my teammates, wherever they were from, what level they were at, whether they were a starter or walk on, no matter what our role was on that team, everybody saw and felt the same thing I did. So I kind of always wanted to be the same thing, as I got older,
Wow.
because I did have the knowledge. So to people who might not ever talk to, I hate to, of course, I choose Young Humble, but some kids who might never talk to an All-American. Like, I'm just a
You're
normal
not gonna
kid
talk
from
to
Westchester.
them.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, like, for me to be able
I
to
can
go,
tell you from a standpoint of an All-American, a highly recruited player, and had success. I can give you free game directly. Some
yes,
are
exactly.
some are not going to have that direct resource. So
Mhm.
your resource, your
Yeah,
resume is established. So when you don't have to feel like you're boasting. Like
Exactly.
the rest
Yeah. And I just, yeah, sometimes I don't even like to tell them that because then they won't approach me the same either.
yeah,
I'm just like,
well, in a walk with me, talk with me conversation, you say, hey, listen,
yeah,
I got some skins on the wall,
yeah,
and I walk this walk. So let me talk,
exactly.
and I can talk to you.
Exactly.
So that's beautiful for you for you to continue to use that and pay it forward. So how's your
Yeah.
son? How's your son doing? How are you doing? How are we navigating in this pandemic as a coach and everything like that?
You know, he's doing really well. Unfortunately, I hate to say he's almost got me. I got 1 inch on him left. He's about 6 feet now. You know, he turns 16 the end of this year. So that's crazy to see. You know, I brought him back with me. I was inducted into the Hall of Fame at St. John's, you know, back in January of 2020. Thank you. So I brought him back to campus, and you know, everyone was like, is this the little boy who was running? So yeah, because now, you know, they're used to just seeing a baby in a stroller or a toddler walking around campus, and now he's this guy looking down on some of them, you know. So it's crazy to see him grow up, but you know, honestly, of course, every parent says it, they're biased. You know, I have a great kid. I really do. I think growing up in college with me has, you know, taught him to be an old soul, which I love and respect, especially in this tone of a world. I think it's good for, you know, younger kids to be a little bit more mature, especially just like what I said with just everything going on. And honestly, just where I know he wants to go. You know, he's a basketball player, so he does want to, you know, his end goal would, of course, be the NBA. He's been working hard, you know, of course, it hit him like every other kid in the beginning of the pandemic. It's hard to motivate, but even though we don't play the same sport, he respects the walk that I took and knows, you know, that I was a Division I athlete. And, you know, of course, we butt heads like any parent and son do, but he knows at the end of the day, I'm doing it because I know where he wants to go and he knows I've been there before, you know? So it's nice to still be able to, I'll do like the beginning of the pandemic, we were doing track workouts together. Like I had to like keep him because again, of course, we all thought it was going to be like a week or two, but now it's a year later. This was his freshman year. And now, you know, how I look at it is you've lost a year kind of like recruiting. Look how quick that went. Like I was nervous for you to start your freshman year. It's already over. Like, so it's been, you know, it's been challenging for everyone, but I just keep telling him like that self-accountability and just like, it's the drive has to come, it starts with you. And I think this pandemic shows it more than anything. Like you're always going to have, because again, he's like any teenager and all teenagers are the same. You got to schedule, you know, you got to go to school, you know, time you got practice, but is that in between? Like, what are you doing on the in between that's not scheduled and given to you? Like, will you do something on your own? Will you do it because I told you, because your coach did? Like, so this pandemic, I think has shown him along with every other kid, especially athlete, like, how a lot is self, you know what I mean? Like this year more so than ever, like it's all about the work you're willing to put in when it's not put in your face sometimes, because sometimes we do get programmed to like a practice plan or a program just given to us. And when it comes down to us doing it, we're kind of like, now what? I don't know what to do. They didn't plan practice. They didn't give me practice. I don't know. So yeah, I'm just kind of trying to get that instilled in him, because obviously we don't want another pandemic to come around. This one isn't fully gone yet. But he's been working hard and I think it's the same thing. I kind of do the same thing that I did. I look for the right programs. I know I can get him flash for probably the right connection, the right price, maybe even in certain places. And this isn't just personally me, this is for anyone. But for me, it's the right program. I know where he wants to go, ultimately what programs he wants to be in. So I need that instilled in him now before the flash comes. Then he can get as flashy on Instagram as he wants. But for me, it's the core. Like I got the core before the flash, and that was very key for me. Like, and I think it's really key for a lot of athletes because they see this world, there's a lot of video. When we were younger, like even my students ask now, do you have video? I don't. I really have. I wish I have like no game tape. And they're like, what? How do you? I'm like, I'm old, but it wasn't
It was a different wave. It was a
It was
different wave,
different.
you know what I mean? So you gotta take my word.
Yeah.
Take my
So,
word.
and now it's now it's the opposite, right? It's let me see your video. Oh, you don't
See
have
the
a video? I
video,
don't
but
believe
it
you. It
happened.
ain't word. Yeah. So it's like now it's easy to just make a good video, but not do all the in between. Like I can make a dope video. I can make him look like anything right now if I really want to, but
Where's
it's
the
like,
substance at? Where's the substance at? Because you're gonna have to deal with substance somewhere along. You can't, you can only fake it so
yeah,
long.
that, and it's not always a perfect editing session or a perfect, like this is not a perfect recruiting year. This could be someone, this was my son's first recruiting year of his high school, and it was other people's last recruiting year. Like it's just not always ideal, right? So it's like you kind of have to prepare yourself. Everybody's comfortable with what they're comfortable with. I really love to coach making people uncomfortable in their uncomfortable. Like you got to get comfortable in that. You have to, like, because you're
Yeah.
never going to try it. Like that's what this sport is. Like, of course, you're always going to do the things you're good at. You want to show out. Everybody's praising you, clapping. It's easy, but it's what you're not good at. Like, are you willing to do that? Like, are you willing to look not so good in front of everyone in a world where, you know, we put a filter to make everything look good? It's, are you willing to step outside of that box and be uncomfortable? Because and that comes down to the mentality, because we care too much about what everyone thinks that we look like instead of what our main goal is, which is probably getting better and getting recruited. That one practice or that one Instagram post, as a coach, I tell you, I recruit right now. I don't care about what that Instagram post look like. I don't. I care about everything else in between. Like, so it's that, and just trying to not let him fall into typical teenage and understanding the programs that he wants to be in, what it really kind of is about.
That's beautiful. That's very, you checking all the boxes, parenthood.
Yeah.
Checking all the boxes. So how, and then we'll kind of put a bow on this. How has the relationship been with you, your son, and your mom, and siblings? How has that been?
Siblings, so my siblings, the one thing that I can say throughout all this, that has, and the one thing that I am thankful for with my, you know, my mom and my stepfather, they have never controlled or taken away my siblings from me. So my siblings and I have always been super close, no matter where my parents and I are at. They've come and stayed with me for weeks at St. John's, you know what I mean? Like when I had my off-campus apartments, been super, you know, close and active with my kids. You know, I have 3 now at this point. But yeah, I mean, I wish we had our year, same thing, where it kind of went back and forth. And, you know, it's still kind of at that point now. We're at that, we get that on and off, you know, but my main focus is what it's always been from high school to, you know, break the cycle. So I'm super close with my son. Probably, I mean, I'm still, thank God, I can't wait. He still, as a teenager, still tells his friends that I'm his best friend, and he still likes me and like puts me on the phone with his friends.
That's
So
beautiful.
I'm super happy, like we're still there, because especially as a teenager, they're like over their parents. So um I'm just doing everything that I know I wanted to feel back then. Like I'm supportive with his sport, even though it's not my sport. I tell him that too. Like, listen, I'll give you what I think, but you know, this isn't my sport. I try to go to every practice, every game that I can make it to, even with my busy schedule, because I knew how much that meant to me. Um, so yeah, just that. Like, and I also tell him that I do want it to be his career. My career was separate. My life, my story was different. That was mine. If he wants something along those lines, I'm here. If he wants to quit tomorrow because it doesn't make him happy, then I'm here for that too. It's just really about what makes him happy. And but I'm also the other side of me. I'm excited. I love it. I love this. Like it's nerve-wracking, but it's exciting to see your kid kind of go through what made you excited. You know, like I see him get excited about varsity tryouts and AAU tryouts and all that. And, you know, the possibility of just a future in this. And that's exciting because I went through that and I know how exciting it is. So, you know, you can never say never. It might, you know, we might very well much so get to a point where we're better, but I'm still going to make sure I check off my boxes. I still don't want it to deter me from doing what I see the plan is and from my son's possibilities to do it, because we still have the same, his, you know, his grandma and grandpa is now just auntie, and like the same ones that babysat him and thing that are now looking up at him are the same ones there at every game. You know what I mean? So he still has that. Like I picked the right school the right group. Coach is still very much active in his life. He still sees coach, you know, my coach was there in the delivery room when I had him, for God's sakes. Like, yeah, so she's super close with him. Yeah, she's super close with him. So I'm still gonna make sure I check the boxes, and he's still gonna get all those. And yes, we're always gonna hope, like anybody, that, you know, you wish certain people were there, but it's not going to stop us from doing what I know. He's super talented, and I'm not going to let that stop him from now possibly making his own legacy with it as well too. So definitely.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think you're saying all of the things that I will co-sign. And like you said, it's out of your control how other people operate.
Yeah.
But definitely you have the ability to control what you control. So what a cool story.
Thank you. Thank you.
What a cool story. It's your story, but thank you for allowing us in. And I hope the people that watch this really take away the free game that you have given them from your unique story.
Yeah.
It's a very, very unique story.
It definitely is. Yeah. And you know, it took a while to get comfortable sharing it. And a lot of people, it's going to take them a while. Some people might not, but it's like you said, anyone that it could resonate with. And I just think this year more so than ever, you just really don't know what people are going through and what they've been through and their reasoning whys. And it's just, if it all comes back down to the respect, you know, of whatever it may be, and just respecting each other, that's just really all it is. You know, we can all come from different places and still respect just each other and their reasons why and why they tick and why they do stuff and what drives them and everything. So if I can give that to any student athletes, whatever sport it may be, you know, that's what helped me keep going. Again, if one recruiting trip is still pushing me at 36, then that's what I need to be for somebody else too. So
we appreciate it. And this, even for us as former athletes, I feel like this is part of the therapy and the healing that sometimes is lacking, because you and I both know as athletes, we tend to shoulder a lot and keep going through it. And sometimes it leads to other things and
absolutely.
relationships. So I feel like this is good by supporting one another.
Yeah,
So
100%.
I want to take this time just to celebrate you. You had an amazing career. You're a really strong lady, strong woman, and you're a great example of perseverance. You know what I mean? Because it's really tough navigating when you have support.
Yeah, it's very true.
You had to go and attach yourself to outside support from that's outside of your home, and you used all of the different avenues to continue to motivate you in a positive way. That's very, very, very mature, and you did that. And then in the midst of it, you had your son. So that could have derailed you from all of the other things and put you on a whole different path. But again, you attach yourself with enough loved ones, even if they weren't blood, they're your loved ones, to where you can continue on, and now you're paying it forward. So that's a beautiful story. So we celebrate. I'm really proud.
Thank you. Thank you.
Friend, I mean, you did your thing in college. You're Hall of Fame at the school. You can't fake that. Can't fake.
No.
So yeah, very proud. I'm going to celebrate you, and hopefully we can continue to pay this forward. But thank you once again for sharing. It's always uncomfortable sharing some things that a lot of us doesn't know, but I think I did the same thing. I think there's beauty in it, but there's also a certain release, you know, spiritually, energy wise, to where it can create some healing, and then it can even help restore or even build some of the relationships that you have.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
So really appreciate it. And look forward to speaking with you offline and continuing to build. And again, if you need anything with your son, basketball, fitness.
We're coming to Texas once this clears up.
All right, already know. So I look forward to it. And until next time, much love.
All right, thanks, Justin.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.